Give me Andy Reid from the top rope on dopey, woke, uninformed sports reporters yesterday as the Chiefs talked to the media for the first time since the controversial Harrison Butker commencement speech at Benedictine. Good morning. Happy Thursday. Beautiful morning across Kansas City. It's great to be here on KCMO 95.7 FM. Oh, this just made my day yesterday. And if you haven't heard this, if you didn't see it on social media, you are about to have your morning made at 6:06 in the morning when you see how Andy Reid treated what was the most ridiculous question that he is ever going to get on something not related to football. Let's roll.
With so many women just on staff here and in the building, his comments kind of touched on women in the workforce. What do you tell them if they come to you with a concern about players speaking ill of, women in general?
Yeah, that hasn't happened. I don't think he was speaking ill to women, but he has his opinions, and we all respect that. I let you guys in this room, and you have a lot of opinions that I don't like. So.
Attaboy! Attaboy, Andy Reid from the top rope, sticking it to some woke sports reporter from Fox 4, as I understand it, based on some of my media sources in this town. I put up a tweet on this yesterday, and I can't read the tweet on the air because I said something I shouldn't have said. But anyway, my phone started blowing up from people in TV news who were telling me who it was who asked such a ridiculous question. A guy named PJ Green at Fox 4. And I want to re-tee that up for you here just to, once again, get to the importance of how the media has portrayed Harrison Butker's speech over the last week and a half now. Because that's what matters. This is whether it's, the political news cycle, the sports news cycle, this is what the media can do for the masses that aren't paying attention. They create these narratives, they push these storylines that are completely inaccurate and not true, but they get the narrative out there. And it takes brave people with backbones like Andy Reid to call out the BS for what it is.
With so many women just on staff here and in the building, his comments kind of touched on women in the workforce. What do you?
His comments touched on women in the workforce with so many women on staff here with the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay.
Tell them if they come to you with a concern about players speaking ill of, women in general.
Players speaking ill of women in general. Are you kidding me? If NFL players treated the women in their lives like Harrison Butker treats his wife, do you know how much better off that league would be? Do you realize Harrison Butker getting up there and coming to tears when speaking about his wife and her job as a homemaker and what she has done for their family and how it has allowed him to be the best that he could be at his job? If men in the NFL, if the players in the NFL treated their women as well as Harrison Butker, boy, I'll tell you what, there would be a lot less drama in the NFL. It's amazing. Harrison Butker gives that speech, and he's getting more flack for how he supposedly treats women or speaks ill of women compared to guys who are beating their girlfriends, smacking them around, whacking their kids in the whole 9 yards. It's disgusting. But this is what the media's done. This is what they've come to. And you know what? I think we all already loved Andy Reid. Appreciate what the Hunt family's done for this town, for this organization, what it's done for Kansas City at large. But the way that they have basically treated this entire controversy, like the nonsense that it is very refreshing because it's very easy on the other end to bend the knee. And that's not what's happening here. It's not happening with Andy Reid. And by the way, it didn't happen with Patrick Mahomes when he was also asked about Harrison Butker. And here's what Patrick Mahomes said yesterday.
I know Harrison. I've known him for 7 years. And I judge him by the character that he shows every single day, and that's a good person. That's someone who cares about the people around him, cares about his family, and wants to make a good impact in society. When you're in the locker room, there's a lot of people from a lot of different areas of life, and they have a lot of different views on everything, and we're not always going to agree. But and there's certain things that he said that I don't necessarily agree with, but I understand the person that he is, and he's trying to do whatever he can to lead people in the right direction, and that might not be the same values as I have, but at the same time, I'm going to judge him by the character that he shows every single day. That's a great person, and we'll continue to move along and try to help build each other up to make ourselves better every single day. But at the end of the day, we're going to come together as a team, and I think that'll help out as well as eliminating those distractions outside the building as well.
You know, that's how an adult handles something, you know? That's how a leader handles something. By the way, the left was really probably melting down when they heard Patrick Mahomes say, he's a great person. Oh, we can't have that. Oh, no. How dare somebody say such a thing about Harrison Butker? He's the worst person to ever exist in the NFL. A league that's had murderers and wife beaters and child beaters, far too frequently, sad to say. But Harrison Butker, this guy praising his wife as a Catholic in a Catholic speech at a private Catholic college, oh, man, we can't have that. Whoa, what's going on here? These guys stood up for Harrison Butker. And, it helps, of course, that he is the best kicker in the NFL. But even if he was the backup kicker, I'd like to think that they would stand up for him. I'd like to think that they would do the right thing, John, and that's exactly what they did yesterday.
Well, yeah, when it comes to bending a knee, when you get to my age or Andy Reid's age, if you have to bend a knee to, tie a shoe, you ask yourself if there's anything else you can do while you're down there. You don't have time for it.
No, and you could tell Andy had no time for that crap yesterday, and good on him. And Patrick Mahomes, listen, he's a little more polished, obviously. He doesn't want to ruffle the feathers like Andy. Andy's kind of at that old man phase where he just doesn't give two rips anymore, and God bless him for that. We all want to get there in life. You've had the success. No one's going to do anything to you. And, you got to tell the media what you think. Mahomes handled it like a politician. But he also said the most important thing that needed to be said. Harrison Butker is a great person of great character. Those are the words from Patrick Mahomes. And if there's anything to take away, well, of course, Mahomes also said, I don't support everything that he said in his 20-minute speech. That's normal. No one's asking that. If you're to talk to anybody or listen to anybody talk for 20 minutes straight and give their thoughts on the world and life and religion and their opinion, if you agree with every single word, that's probably pretty rare. But these two guys clearly made it very obvious to the media that won't give this thing up because they're a bunch of woke-a-doke goobers, that this is not going to stand. This is over. Nothing's happening to Harrison. Whatever you guys want to, women aren't running around the facility complaining about Harrison Butker, believe it or not. I know they create this whole bunch of nonsense in their mind, but that's not the way this team operates. It's not the way the organization is going to operate, and good on them for that. And shame on the media. But that's nothing new. 913-408-7957. 913-408-7957. If you're not, I know we were all already Kansas City Chiefs fans, but man, if you're not loving this team as it's made up right now even more, I'm not sure how it can help you. Because these are good times. And I'm still waiting on my damn Butker jersey. It said it'd be here in 3 to 7 business days. It's been a week now. What the hell's going on?
They're pretty busy over there with those
that's
Butker
true.
jerseys.
They're out of men's jerseys, by the way, I saw last night.
I was telling Mark, I was thinking maybe cutting the line and just getting the number 7 that says Buckner on it, because that's been mispronounced so many times over these national coverage.
I have heard a lot of Buckners, like Bill Buckner.
So maybe I'll get that a little quicker.
Didn't know he was a Red Sox first baseman from the mid-'80s. Goodness gracious. 913-408-7957. It's good to be here on a Thursday morning on KCMO Talk Radio. Don't forget about our Politics and a Pint next week, a week from tonight with Jay Ashcroft. We've only got a few spots left, so RSVP now at KCMOTalkRadio.com. Coming up, what is the message from the White House as they continue to hand out student loan debt like it's candy? That's pretty pathetic. We'll play it next. Another $7 billion plus, right? Student loan debt getting doled out yesterday illegally by the administration. They dropped that with about 24 weeks to go until the 2024 election. 24 weeks till 24, and they're handing out student loan debt relief like it's candy. You know, that's what they're doing. Or like they're drugs on the street corner, trying to get people high, get them high on the hog, and say, go vote for us in November. That's what this is. It's clear to anybody who's paying attention. That's, I don't believe, some kind of overly partisan statement, because if you were serious about student debt relief, what would you do? You'd try to get to the source of the problem. And if you're a kid or a young adult who just graduated here in the last couple of weeks, a lot of people, of course, wrapping up graduation the last 2 weeks, well, guess what? It doesn't help you any. It doesn't fix the problem. Doesn't do anything about the cost of tuition or, you know, your bills or anybody who's going to be walking in this year as a freshman who's taking out loans. It does nothing for you. It doesn't solve the problem.
I used to favor this a la carte solution for cable networks. You go, I don't want all this other crap I have to buy, right? I just want these 5 channels. What if you just went into college and said, no, I don't need the English literature. I don't need the fine arts, all the stuff that goes together as your basics.
Yeah.
Your fundamental. No, I don't need those.
I want to be an accountant. Can you teach me accounting, please?
I'm going to take these 6 accounting courses, and I don't need
and
physical education.
You'll be done in half the time. You'll save half the money, and but they claim they want to make you well-rounded. Well,
sure.
Shove that. Shove. No one cares.
Let's just keep the money makers. Wouldn't that be interesting to see?
Yeah.
We could probably guess what they would be.
Exactly. Nursing, accounting, finance, you know, you could run down the list. But it certainly would not be gender studies, not making any dough doing that. But, you know, that's not part of the college grift. They want you there for 4 years. They want you taking out the loans, and they want you making them, you know, nice and rich and fat and high on the hog and the whole deal.
Well, now you could stay 5 or 6, you know, if you want to change your major.
Got to drop.
It's okay to
courses.
change your major.
Yeah,
you could double. You could double major.
Then get your master's. You know, you need a PhD. We'll wokeify you until you're like 30 years old. Life will be good. We had one of those guys at Villanova. Gosh, what was his name? Kate would know. Mendel Doug, that was his name. Mendel was the name of a hall at Villanova, and he was this guy with long hair. He looked like a hippie stuff in the 60s, and his dad was a professor, and he would just kind of roam around campus throwing a Frisbee around, and he was probably 30 years old at that point. Mendel Doug, my gosh.
The name seems to even...
Yeah. It's like, gosh, I haven't thought of that guy in 15 years now, at least. Mendel Doug.
We all know a Mendel.
We all know a Mendel Doug. Ain't that the truth? Karine Jean-Pierre, here she was yesterday getting grilled a little bit on what her message is, what Joe Biden's message is to those in America who haven't got their student debts bailed out and people who maybe didn't go to college.
Then is the White House's message to those Americans who did not attend college for a variety of reasons, perhaps, including perhaps that they didn't want to take on all the debt that went with it right now, that they feel like in some form they are responsible for allowing those who did not to pay their fair share.
So look, here's the thing. This is a president who has been very clear about making sure that he's building an economy that leaves no one behind, right? Making sure that...
Being left behind, the ones who didn't get support because they didn't go to college?
I hear your question, but this is, if you look at what the president has done more holistically over the past 3.5 years, he has tried to build an economy for everyone.
Oh, that's good. He's tried to build an economy for everyone, except those people that, like, work hard and, you know, try to pick themselves up by their bootstraps and, like, hustle and not cut corners and don't take out stupid student loans to study gender theory. You know, outside of them, yeah, he's really done a hell of a job trying to build an economy for everyone. If you don't want to work, if you're looking for handouts, boy, this is the economy for you. This is the guy for you. And, you know, inflation, well, it's okay. You're living off the government dole, so what's the big deal? You know, all the money keeps coming in, keep spending more of it, and life's good. But for the average American, I mean, how insulting of a statement is that? He's looking out for the average American? 80% of America either didn't go to college, paid their way through college, or paid back their loans. That's 80% of America right there. That's the number. Instead, what he's doing to cater to a small portion of the population who is advocating for student loan bailouts, who believes this is somehow righteous and just and the right way to handle this situation, and buy off their votes. This after the Supreme Court basically said last year, you can't do it. But he's finding roundabout ways to go about it anyway. And it's so wildly insulting to anybody with half a brain. I mean, even you've got people, who typically wouldn't push back against the administration, pushing back, like Peter Alexander of NBC News.
To put a fine point on it right now, for the 4.7 million Americans who have received this debt relief, the average, as you said at the start of this visit, was $35,000 their relief has been for. So I guess why don't those individuals who didn't receive $35,000 in debt cancellation deserve a $35,000 check from other Americans for what other means they would want to use it?
You're talking about
those people who didn't go to college, so they're not getting debt relief, the $35,000 that they don't get because they didn't go.
We're talking about folks who are in debt who are literally being crushed. Literally being crushed because they took
Literally being crushed.
Financially. Okay, is that okay with you? Okay, but I know, but crushed financially, and so they're trying to get their lives back on track.
They're literally, she says, being crushed. No, they're not literally being crushed. They're not. And if they're being crushed financially, guess what? We're all being crushed financially there, babe. Okay? We all are. These are tough times. Across the board, prices are up 20%. For the average family, it costs 10, 11 grand more to live with the same lifestyle as it did 40 years ago. Everyone is being crushed. And if your answer and your solution to this is to just dump billions of dollars into student debt relief, then one, you haven't learned your lesson, and two, you're not actually interested in helping the economy at large. You don't. How do you think this is going to play in the South Bronx, where I promise you there's not a lot of college graduates, as they struggle to deal with inflation? But don't worry, the person who went to a 4-year liberal arts school and studied nothing and now can't get a decent job, they're getting $35,000 in student debt relief on average. How's that playing there? And the reason I bring up the South Bronx is because that's where Donald Trump is going to be tonight for a rally at about 5 o'clock our time. In what may be a spectacle that is unlike anything we have ever seen politically in modern American history. And I'm fascinated by it. And it could be one of the most important moments in modern American political history happening tonight. And we'll tell you why and what it means. Coming up next on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. It's happening tonight, South Bronx. Donald Trump is set to do a rally in the South Bronx. Now, you think about any Republican candidate in modern American history going to the South Bronx. I mean, that would be like being on the east side of Kansas City somewhere and drawing out thousands of people to show up for your political rally. It's unheard of. And apparently tonight, I mean, there's already 10,000 RSVPs. I don't know what the final number is going to look like, but it's likely to be a show unlike anything we've seen before. And it's a sign of the times rapidly changing. It really ties in many respects to what we were just talking about with student loan debt. You are seeing a shifting of the parties. You have seen the last several years Republicans appeal much more to the working class. Part of that is because of Donald Trump and their policies. But a large part of that, too, is how the Democratic Party has shunned these people. They've turned their backs to these people as they have tried to really cater to the woke, elite, upper echelon of society, and then basically poor people who don't want to work. Notice how I said poor people who don't want to work. Not poor people who want to, work their way up the ladder, but basically just people who want handouts. Everybody else in the middle 80%, who's hustling, who's bustling, who's trying to make a better life for themselves, who still believes in America being the land of opportunity, they're the ones who are like, what's with these guys? They're getting a little crazy. Not only on some of the social issues, but on, just some common sense economics and who should be benefiting and who shouldn't be and things of that nature. So we've seen that realignment happen. But Donald Trump walking into the South Bronx tonight for a rally, is unlike anything we will have seen in modern American political history. It's supposed to take place at about 6 o'clock Eastern time. And it's going to be happening in a park that's just blocks away from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's district. Oh, I just love everything about that. Oh, my goodness, I cannot wait. Because apparently AOC and some others are going to be doing a counter-protest. But tonight, what you're going to see is Donald Trump get out there in front of a crowd that's going to be more minority-based than probably any crowd he's ever been in front of. And my hope is that he's going to talk to them. And he's going to talk to them about just economics 101. How the last 3-4 years of economic policy have hurt the people at the very bottom the most. That's what it's done. Inflation hits the poor the hardest. When eggs and Windex go up in price, the person sitting on Fifth Avenue in their big multi-million-dollar condo doesn't care, doesn't feel it. That's for the housekeeper to worry about. And that's just a rounding error. For people in the South Bronx, where Donald Trump's going to be tonight, that matters. That makes a difference. And bad economic policy is part of what led us here. And the fact that the leaders don't want to do anything about trying to reverse the bad economic policy that got us here. And that's the message for Donald Trump, should be the message for Donald Trump tonight, as the polling shows him in a New York Times poll last week, got a lot of attention, shows him doing better with black voters than any Republican since our own Dwight Eisenhower. Going back, gosh, how far do we have to go back now? Almost 70 years? That's unbelievable. Here's the preview. Newsmax had a staff down there yesterday. They were getting set for the rally that's going to be happening tonight. Here's what that sounded like.
South Bronx? Really? Donald Trump is going to hold a rally here in the South Bronx? Well, he will be doing so in about 24 hours from now. You can see the Trump campaign already setting up at the top of that bluff right now for this rally. Right now, they have 10,000 people that have reserved tickets online for this. We could see many, many more than that. It's a big week for the president. No more court this week. After the Bronx rally tomorrow, he'll head down to Washington for a speech at the Libertarian National Convention. Why is Donald Trump here in New York? Why is he campaigning in New York? Well, according to the latest New York Times Siena College poll, President Biden now leads Trump by just 9 points here in one of the bluest states in America, New York. Biden's lead in New York is down 3 points since February, and Donald Trump says he's making a play to win New York outright. Last night, after leaving court, Trump attended a dinner with Ambassador Rick Grenell and a group of Muslim voters in Michigan, another blue state that that Joe Biden is in danger of losing. 94% of Muslims in Michigan, according to a recent exit poll, voted uncommitted in Michigan's recent presidential primary. So Donald Trump says New York is in play. He wants to win it. And when it comes to this district that we're in right now, the South Bronx, it's one of the poorest and one of the most minority-majority congressional districts in the entire country. Donald Trump says he speaks to these voters. Well, not too long ago, one of our reporters, Kara Castronova, got out and spoke to former Biden voters about how they feel about the current president and how they feel about Donald Trump.
Minority communities, we're not seeing the improvement. There's inflation with everything, food, gas, insurance prices. I mean, you name it.
Bidenomics is not working. It's just a complete mess. It's a disaster. Especially here in New York City, we're feeling it very hard.
If you could say anything to Biden right now, who says that the economy is improving, especially in black and brown communities, what would you say to him?
That's lies. I believe that's lies. Heavy lies on that, for sure.
Donald Trump's father was born here in the Bronx back in 1905. Back in 1977, President Carter, a Democrat, he made a trip here to the Bronx where he blamed Republican leadership, past Republican leadership in the presidency, for all of the poverty that he saw. Tomorrow, we can expect Donald Trump to do the same, but on the other side of the aisle. Guys?
All right. Thanks, Mike Carter. Looking forward to the rally in the South Bronx.
There you go. That's Newsmax getting set for tonight. Going to be in the South Bronx. Donald Trump's going to make a pitch in a majority-minority community one of the most majority-minority communities in America, in a state that I don't think he's going to win. I have no belief that Donald Trump is actually going to win New York. Not a chance. But it's telling that polling shows it's within single digits. And tonight is not really about New York. It's not. It's about the attention that he will ultimately get from this. It's about the publicity that will come out of this. And it's really a message to communities in every other state in the country, including here in Missouri and Kansas. To see a guy like Donald Trump walk in to a place like the South Bronx and deliver what is likely to be a very robust speech. And what's the response from Joe Biden going to be tonight? I mean, I can only imagine it's probably going to be something like this.
You have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
Yeah, I don't know what else he's going to say. I mean, that's kind of the go-to line, it seems like, for him at this point. I mean, that's what it's been for about 4 years now.
Black people, the insurrection, racism.
Thank you, St. Louis Congresswoman Cori Bush. That's probably the other line that's going to be coming tonight at some point from some of the naysayers on MSNBC and CNN. We'll have a little Cori Bush as well to break it all down for us out of St. Louis. So very well done there, 913-408-7957. I'll be glued tonight. I just want to see what it looks like. I mean, we saw the Wildwood, New Jersey scene last weekend on the Jersey Shore, but this has the potential to be Donald Trump's most important rally as a politician. 913-408-7957. Paul's on KCMO, in KCMO. Paul, good morning. What's up, big boy?
Hey, P, I think this is going to be a contrast. Joe Biden went up to New Hampshire, a blue state, had a rally up there, and it looked like a bingo night at the old folks' home. It was horrible. So I think you're going to see a contrast being drawn here that former President Trump could go down to South Bronx, a blue state, have a massive turnout, and Joe Biden was in New Hampshire. That was pitiful. That was just awful, that scene they showed up there.
Yep, I saw that one. It's going to be very interesting, Paul, to see how that plays out. And here's, I've been to the South Bronx a handful of times in my life to go to New York Yankees games. And I hate the Yankees, but, you get invited to a game, you take the ticket. The belief that and the thought that, it's not going to be real South Bronx people. It's going to be people from, outside of the area. Trust me, no one outside the area wants to go to the South Bronx. It doesn't matter if there's a Trump rally. No one wants to go to the place is not safe. It's not a place you want to spend a lot of time unless you're going to a Yankees game or something like that. So you're going to get, I promise you're going to get cream of the crop South Bronx people there tonight. Fenny, Overland Park. What's up, Fenny?
Hey, how you doing? And good morning. Hey, this is a grand slam for Trump. All those people that in the South Bronx that would never dream of watching a Trump rally, they're going to be watching tonight.
It's going to be right in their backyard. He's going to put on a show. Yeah. I totally agree, Fenny. And that's.
I cannot. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and I can't wait to see AOC and her crew come out and whatever protests there is.
There's supposed to be some counter event, Fenny. That's going to be intriguing to watch. But listen, I think you're right. It is going to be the most intriguing rally of Donald Trump's political career, really since he came down the escalator at Trump Tower 9 years ago now. This is the most intriguing event that he will hold as a candidate. Not as a president, but as a candidate. 913-408-7957. It's 6:45 on a beautiful Thursday morning across Kansas City as we roll through the morning here on KCMO Talk Radio. Coming up, we've got some news here. The guy who allegedly shot Lisa Lopez Galvin at the Super Bowl parade here in Kansas City back in February, he has spoken to a local TV station. And hear what he said in part coming up next on KCMO. Well, the young thug who allegedly shot and killed Lisa Lopez Galvin at the Super Bowl parade has spoken to the media, specifically to Fox 4 in an interview that released yesterday. And good on Fox 4 for getting a hold of this and getting a hold of Dominic Miller. 18-year-old guy who has been charged with second-degree murder in the wake of that tragedy that took place over 3 months ago now, right here in Kansas City, and of course made Kansas City the center of the news universe for the days after that. He spoke to Fox 4. Of course, right now he is facing 4 felonies in the wake of that shootout, including the aforementioned second-degree murder. Jackson County prosecutors allege that his bullet, Dominic Miller's bullet, killed Lisa Lopez Galvin. He showed some remorse when talking to Fox 4 yesterday, but still, I'm not getting any sympathy, trust me. There's no sympathy card here for Dominic Miller. But here's what he told Fox 4 last night.
I didn't mean for none of this to happen. And I'm truly sorry that woman had to lose her life. I understand where I was.
Well, that woman had to lose her life. Notice what he said there. I'm truly sorry that woman had to lose her life. No, she didn't have to lose her life. There was absolutely no reason for Lisa Lopez Galvin to lose her life. For him to frame it like that shows me there is no remorse. I mean, the article's written saying that, he's remorseful on what happened. No, he's not remorseful on what happened. Fox 4 writes here the defendant showed remorse. I apologize. None of this had to happen. He says, but to frame it like he just framed it, I'll play it again. No, that's not somebody who's showing a lot of remorse.
I didn't mean for none of this to happen. And I'm truly sorry that woman had to lose her life. I understand where I was. I understand how many people was there. I understand there was kids around. But you also got to see it from my point of view. It was either die or defend yourself. And me personally, I ain't trying to die.
I ain't trying to die, so I just, kill other people. Innocent people. So that way I've got a chance to live. Even if that means I'm spending years and years and years in a prison cell. If that means innocent people have to die, so be it. That's what you heard there from Dominic Miller. Does that sound remorseful to you from the guy who is alleged to have shot Lisa Lopez Galvin, even if it was an accident on his part at the Super Bowl parade shooting? I don't hear a guy that's all that remorseful. I hear a guy who said, you know what? If innocent people have to die so I can save my own skin because of the groups I run in, well, so be it. Million people down there by Union Station. Somebody looked at my crew the wrong way. That's how it goes. And that's basically the story that he's telling. He goes on to say that, and I've got some of the audio here, he describes the moments leading up to the shooting and what went through his mind just before he pulled the gun. He goes on to say that the beef started right before the shootout per court documents, and it's because Lindell Mays, who is also charged with second-degree murder, was staring down a teenager who was with Dominic Miller's group. And from there, the situation escalated, and here's what Miller said.
He said, not right here. We're not doing that right here. On everything I love, that's what we told him. Because I know how many people was around. I know where we was at. I know how many people was there. There was kids around. And his exact words was, nah, that.
And then, of course, chaos ensued and, turned into the OK Corral there outside of Union Station. I struggle with this on so many levels, not just because of the loss of life, but, of course, the people who were shot, those who were traumatized, the children who were there just looking to see their sports heroes hoist a Lombardi trophy and celebrate another Super Bowl, back-to-back Super Bowls, and how the innocence of the moment was completely taken away from them by a few thugs. And that's what they are. They're thugs. And, alleged murderers, but I know some people get offended by using the word thugs these days, and I'm going to continue to use that word because that's exactly what they are. They're thugs. And it makes you wonder, what people like that even want to do at an event like that. You're coming in heavily armed to what exactly? Is it because school was out for some of the teenagers that they're not there? We talked about that leading up to the event. Don't cancel school. Don't cancel school. Now, I don't know if, some of these kids go to school anyway, but I kept thinking about that when I was reading the report last night, And apparently, Lindell Mays, who was not a school-age kid, but he looked at a teenager in Dominic Miller's group the wrong way, and the teenager's the one who's like, no, we got beef now, man. We're putting this one to rest right now. Can you point back to that as possibly a factor in all this? I'm not saying it's any school's fault or administrator's fault, but once again, you tie it all back to the last 4 years. Kids not being in school is not good for society. And it's something that we've allowed to happen far, far, far too frequently the last several years. And now we're hearing from the alleged murderer, Dominic Miller. Remember that embarrassing statement the NFL put out last week in the wake of Harrison Butker's commencement speech? It was truly pathetic, but it was also very much on brand for the NFL. Roger Goodell, the commissioner, has walked it back a little bit. So last week, Jonathan Bain, NFL senior vice president, he's like their DEI coordinator, which don't even get me started on that.
I'm getting pissed now.
It's too early to talk DEI. But anyway, Jonathan Bain addressed the commencement speech by Harrison Butker at Benedictine, and here was his statement. Quote, Harrison Butker gave a speech in his personal capacity. His views are not those of the NFL as an organization. The NFL is steadfast in our commitment to inclusion, which only makes our league stronger. I guess, of course, we're excluding people of faith. They can't be included. They don't check off enough boxes, so we're not going to include them. The hypocrisy of that statement, it's like, did anybody proofread that before the NFL just put out something dopey? But, nowadays you just find someone who's going to, fit the word inclusion and diversity into a statement, and you're probably good and no one questions it. But Harrison Butker gives a speech in his private capacity at a private Catholic college as a Catholic, and the NFL responds by saying his views are not those of the NFL. No one thought they were, by the way. No one accused them of being the thoughts or beliefs of the NFL. The NFL is a corporation. Harrison Butker is one of a few thousand players. Like, why they had to address it from that angle, I don't know. But then to say the NFL is steadfast in our commitment to inclusion, as if Harrison Butker was excluding in his speech. Clearly, they're not inclusive. By responding to Harrison Butker, by in part saying the NFL is steadfast in our commitment to inclusion, makes a very clear point that what they're talking about does not include Harrison Butker or anybody of faith. So Roger Goodell spoke about this yesterday for the first time, and he had a very brief statement on this. The Goodell statement read as follows. We have over 3,000 players. They have diversity of opinions and thoughts just like America does. I think that's something we treasure. That's part of what ultimately makes us as a society better. We're not going to go much beyond the statement we made last week. Well, he should have gone a little bit further and said the statement last week was BS and I fired that bum, but I understand he's not going to do that. But either way, that's the first statement the NFL should have given. The first statement should have been what Roger Goodell said. We have 3,000 players. They have a diversity of opinions and thoughts just like America does. That's something we treasure. That's part of what ultimately makes us as a society better. And for those claiming, well, this is just like Kaepernick on the other end, no, it's not like Kaepernick. Stop making the Kaepernick comparisons. They don't work. Colin Kaepernick was in uniform, protesting during a national anthem on the NFL's time. That is completely different from Harrison Butker as a citizen, a private citizen, giving a speech as a Catholic at a private Catholic college. They are not in any, they're not even in the same universe for people trying to make that claim. I mean, I was doing shows when Kaepernick was doing his whole little song and dance. I was doing stuff at CBS Sports Radio at the time, and, I had to kind of temper a little bit what I was saying because, frankly, I was worried for my job. I was like, gosh, if I go in on Kaepernick too hard, I'm not going to get more opportunities here. I mean, I was filling in, doing some national sports radio at the time, and, I was critical of Kaepernick, but I couldn't be as tough as I wanted to be. because I was mid-20s, trying to make it, trying to figure the whole thing out. And I'm like, if I go too tough on this guy, someone's not going to give me these opportunities again. But I was on there saying clearly the issue with Kaepernick, and I still believe this, was not what he was doing as much as I thought he was historically wrong about America. Not that there haven't been issues, but his interpretation was just crazy. It was how he was using the NFL platform, the shield, so to speak, to further his message and to bring controversy to the company, right? If you're going to bring controversy to your company, damn, you better be awesome at what you do. Now, if you're Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, you'll get away with it. If you're Colin Kaepernick, not so much. And that's what he ran into. He was trending towards backup quarterback, and then he decided to be wildly controversial. And teams are like, why am I going to hire a guy who brings controversy to my team, who's nothing more than a glorified backup at this point in his career? Why am I going to do that? It is not in the same stratosphere as Harrison Butker the last 2 weeks. And anybody trying to tell you that either is trying to rewrite history or is being wildly disingenuous.
You go to a Don Henley concert, he's going to bitch at you for not conserving Walden's Pond. So you just got to get used to it.
You do.
You're
you know
like,
what you're signing up for in part, right?
Exactly.
You know what you're getting. That's it. 913-4087-957 as we approach 7:30 on KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 FM. Hey, if you have not signed up for Politics and a Pint, we've got a few open spots left a week from tonight. We'll be up in the Northland at T-Shots with Missouri gubernatorial hopeful Jay Ashcroft. So we're going to have a great time up there. We hope you'll join us. Starts at about 6:30, and make sure you come out 1 week from tonight. But you got to RSVP at KCMOTalkRadio.com. Coming up next, the mayor of Kansas City, Quentin Lucas, is going to join me. We've got a lot to run down with him, as always. Seems like the news cycle never ends in this town. So the mayor of Kansas City joins me next on 95.7 FM and the KCMO Talk Radio app. Well, that turned into a more newsworthy conversation with the mayor than what I expected, to be totally honest. I said to Mark and John here before we got going at 7:30 with Quentin Lucas, I'm like, feels like it's actually been relatively quiet compared to recent weeks. I said that off the air. And then before you know it, he's like, yeah, I got a kid coming, and I fired the employee from the social media post last week who was doxing Harrison Butker.
Well, that and the resolutions, too.
Yeah. And
expected.
Yeah, absolutely. And, he's going to be a no vote on all these resolutions today that are likely to come in front of city council, which are more, culture warrior stuff than they are fix the damn potholes and, pick up the trash.
He could just vote present, right?
Yeah, he could do that, too. Yeah, he could cop out and just
no,
vote
I'm saying
present.
that's what he could do, but he says he's not.
He's laying down the hammer.
Yeah, taking a stand.
Boom. I like that. 913-408-7957. Victor is in Parkville. He's on KCMO. Victor, good morning. What's happening?
Good morning, Pete. As usual, a great show, and I know you're probably going to do a really good thing for Memorial Day this weekend, so I appreciate that as well. As you guys know, I've been critical of Mayor Q on several occasions in the past, but I really want to commend him on his stance on all these resolutions that are coming in front of the city council, and it's nice to see him on the rational side of things. And, he's willing to throw down the old veto, on these ridiculous things, and I appreciate that. And so it's really good to see him do that. And I also wanted to congratulate him on his new baby. By all appearances, he's a good father, and Lord knows we need more of those.
Well, that is very true there, Victor. We do need more of those. But this is go ahead.
I was going to say, well, you're one as well. So you're one. You got Mark out there. So we got a couple good dads out there, and it's and you got several of them on the football team. Patrick Mahomes is also seems to be a good dad. So it's nice that there are some high-profile fathers out there, and of course you got Harrison Butker out there. So you've got people out there showing what it is to be a family. And that's a good thing. It is not a bad thing.
It is a very good thing. Checks in the mail, Victor. Thank you, buddy.
Not a problem, sir.
That is, listen, the bigger picture here, and this is what drives me nuts. It's the same thing whether it's Mayor Lucas, whether it's me, but let's talk more so about people of the other political persuasion. Quentin Lucas. Put him in the same sentence as Barack Obama. I know that tickles him inside since he calls himself the Aldi brand Obama. But here's what I'm getting at. As far as we can tell from the outside looking in, These individuals are good fathers and good family men. Barack Obama, obviously 8 years in the White House, his life has been on full display. He's been a worldwide figure for the better part of almost 2 decades now. So if there was a lot of controversy there, we'd know about it. And Bill O'Reilly, when I was sitting with Bill O'Reilly on his back porch a couple of summers ago, he was talking about this. He said, obviously Barack Obama, he thought did a lot of bad things, a lot of things that were not good for the country, were not positive for America. But he said he never questioned his ability to be a good father and his want to be a great father and a great husband. And Barack Obama had an opportunity, unlike any politician in modern American history, to truly get that message across to, frankly, people who needed it. And he failed to do it. And what's amazing is that, you see these individuals, many of them come up the political ladder, and I would put Mayor Q on there as well, and they have great political talents, even if you disagree with them on a lot of things, and certainly I do. There's no secret of that. But, they live their personal lives seemingly the right way. They do it because they know it's an avenue to success for their families and for their children. But when push comes to shove and you talk about bringing that message out to the masses, I can't do that. Can't do that. Got to keep the victim card running strong, baby. If we don't get the victim card running strong, it might cost us some votes, And that's the part of me that really just bothers me inside because, you see these guys living solid, quality, high-end family lives, having kids, understanding the importance of the family structure, and that's great. I want that for all Americans, white, black, Asian, Latino. And what do you often find, by the way? The stronger the family structure, the stronger the child, the better off the child. The Asian American community, no one on a pure race basis, no one values the family structure in this country like the Asian American community. Why are they the ones who also have the highest income in the country? People talk about white versus black. The highest earners in the country based on race are Asian Americans. They're also the ones who have the strongest family structure in America today. That's not a coincidence. It's not like, they all just decided to go major in engineering and math and science, and that's why they're all really rich. So there's something to be said for the family structure and the value that it puts on that. So we're very happy for Quentin Lucas, and never thought I'd tie that back to Barack Obama, but here we are. That's when a show just starts to go in different directions that you don't anticipate it going.